Excuse me. Good afternoon. Jeff Dawson here. Best-selling author of Love's True Second Chance, Occupation, and Gateway Pioche. This week, there was a video floating around that Shane Vaughn put together, and it really aggravated me. It came from one of my conservative friends, no problem. But in the video, Mr. Vaughn brings up how twice the House of Representatives have decided the presidency, 1800 and 1824. The point of the video was for conservatives, those who voted for Trump, not to lose face that this could wind up in the House of Representatives. And he goes on to describe how, if that happens, each state gets one vote. And there are more conservative red states than there are blue states. Thus, based on that analysis, Trump would be elected the president. However, what he failed to mention in his, I believe, 7-minute monologue is what happened in 1800 and 1824. In 1800, there was a tie in the Electoral College, and they couldn't break it. Went to the House of Representatives. In 1824, we had a more interesting situation to where there were 4 candidates that people voted on for president. 4. You needed 131 to win, and no one could obtain that. And you can go back and look that up on the election results, because Jackson got more votes than Adams, and Adams won. House of Representatives voted him in. That's what was missing in Shane Vaughn's monologue. And I call that false hope and fueling the fire. Folks, if there was voter fraud, we're going to find out. If there wasn't, we're going to find out. Do I think there was? How would I know? I guess if I want to spend my days and hours whiling around between MSNBC and CNN and Fox, well, one side says there is, one side says there isn't, one side, the side that should matter, really doesn't know. We knew lawsuits were coming. We knew mail-in balloting was going to be a problem, and it does appear this is the issue. I don't have a problem with mail-in balloting. I don't have a problem with absentee balloting because that's been going on for decades. The problem with mail-in balloting is simple. 5 states have it. Hawaii, Oregon, Utah, Colorado, and I think Washington. And it took them almost 10 years to perfect it. Now we ask 45 states to perfect it in 6 months. And we heard all the arguments. We heard the problem with the post office. We saw where Jamie Lee Curtis took a picture of a mailbox on a wrecker truck and that they're stealing ballots. Well, I actually received a piece of mail about 20 years ago that was partially burnt. The truck caught on fire. I'm sure that truck was put on a wrecker and taken to a shop, and whatever mail was on that truck was offloaded to another carrier so it could continue its journey. The insanity in this country just blows my mind. But getting back to Shane's video, it was wrong. It wasn't completely contextually correct. In today's climate and with the amount of electoral votes we have in this country, excuse me, I don't ever see a tie coming up. I just don't see it. And I don't see 4 candidates running for presidency and not obtaining 270 electoral votes unless a third party can rise above this crap like the phoenix, rise up of the ashes, which is a possibility. And the reason I say that is, and I talked about this on my BBS1 radio show, Dawson's Domain, today. Let's say Trump wins. Somehow, they find some irregularities in Wisconsin, Arizona, in Georgia. What was the other state? Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Arizona. Those right there. That's 41 votes. Forget Michigan. Michigan's done, even though they were the first ones to report that they had a problem with the computer system because an election official noticed a county was blue and he knew damn good and well it's supposed to be red, that the second coming hadn't arrived, and that just wasn't right. So they found a glitch and they fixed it. But if you look at the lead, Biden has in Michigan, it's like 154,000 votes. That's not going to happen. So Michigan's out of the deal. But Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Arizona. In Arizona, what concerns me about that state is they had over 800,000 more votes cast in 20 than they did in 16. That's a 41% increase. How did that happen in 4 years? Does that mean the population of Arizona increased 1.5 to 2 million? I don't know. I might be able to check it. But if Trump wins, you can guarantee the streets are going to riot. BLM and Antifa are going to be all over the place. That's going to be bad news. Trump's going to have to call out the military because we've seen what Washington and Oregon and Minnesota did. They called them out and said, stand down. That's not good. If Biden wins, he's already gotten a letter from BLM. What's that gal's name? Patrice Cullors. It's basically a demand letter, and if you haven't read it, look it up. Yeah, you're going to have to go to the BLM site to do it. I did, and I gritted my teeth, but I needed the information. It's a demand letter. And one of the most telling lines is, we want something for our vote. And we want to be heard in our agenda to be prioritized. Well, even on their site, I couldn't find their agenda. I don't know what they want prioritized. But I do know this. Biden and Harris have no idea what they've walked into. They're very thankful, and they're going to be very congenial, and they're going to welcome them with open arms, and we're going to hear you, and we're going to listen to you, and we're going to help you. And they're going to sit there and say, no, we want help now. And Joe's going to sit there and say, come on, man. This is government. It takes time. They don't want time. They aren't going to be patient. And if you read this letter, it's all through it that they have waited long enough, and they're not going to wait any longer. So if Joe wins and he doesn't take the quick action that this organization is demanding, they're not asking, they're demanding. What do you think they're going to do? You think they're going to sit back and take it? No, they're going to do the same thing that they would do if Trump won the election. They're going to try and burn America down. We saw it in Portland, we saw it in Seattle, we saw it in Minneapolis. They made it very clear. They don't care what party you're with. And these are Democratic strongholds. St. Louis, LA, Dallas, Democratic strongholds. They don't care at all. If they don't see change, then in their infinite wisdom, they will take to the streets and they will start burning down buildings, instituting riot, and attempt to take down whatever form of government is in place. Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. And Joe's going to have to call out the military. It's almost a no-win situation with this group. At least, because I look at them as Hitler did his brown shirts in the 20s and 30s. They helped him get to power. But he saw a potential power play between him and Rome. So what did he do? Well, he just took out all the heads of the brown shirt organization. Yeah, they all died. Then those members of the organization were given a choice: Buchenwald, Dachau, or join the Wehrmacht. That's it. But he had control over that. Trump nor Biden have control over BLM or Antifa. The only control that those people are going to understand is martial law and the military taking to the streets and stopping this organization dead in its tracks. And then they can go look at Act Blue, which is if you make a donation to BLM, that's who's behind it. And Act Blue is the biggest political laundering machine of any party. Yep, they're on the blue side. I looked that up like 10 years ago. They're a monster, and with all these bleeding hearts that supported and sent tens of millions of dollars into them to support this, they have no idea what they were supporting. They thought they did, but they have no clue. None. Now, I know I got a little bit off track, but it did tie in. Shane Vaughn is giving conservatives some type of hope without really understanding the history behind it. This is really going to get bad, and it's not going to matter who wins. If Trump wins, these people are taken to the streets. Military better be on standby. Joe wins and doesn't meet their demands, they're going to be taken to the streets. And Biden better be ready. He's going to have to do something that he was blaming Trump for when he sent federal troops into Portland to protect the courthouse. This can really get bad. And this isn't fear-mongering. This is just analyzing what is out there and where we're headed. Something to think about. Leave a comment. That'd be great. If you disagree with me, that's fine. Tell me why. But that's what I see. This is a no-win situation until somebody puts the brakes on these organizations.